System Engineer, Michael DeLeo.
Super excited. I want to make sure you guys are taking notes. You guys have your phones, turn off Do Not Disturb. Please do that. You know, the biggest thing with talking and doing all this stuff, and going to all these general body meetings, and you know, you guys come out here, you guys want to learn and grow. The biggest thing I want you guys to do is take one thing away from today and make sure you implement it, change your life, and you go out and do something different, right? Because if you're coming here, you're not taking notes, you're not staying active, you're not going to be able to get the most out of it. So I want to make sure you guys do that. And let's go on and give another round of applause for ASE Leadership. They are amazing. They do so many different things. All of the events that they have years, and they have such an awesome structure, so many great opportunities. You guys are super lucky to be able to take advantage of everything that they have, and it's just awesome, guys. So let's go on and get started. I have a lot to go through. I want to make sure we're locked in, right? So I have a question though. Do I have permission to be honest with you guys? Yes? Thank you. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with a little introduction exercise. So, it's going to be a giveaway. I have two $50 Starbucks gift cards. All right? Who wants them? Awesome. Cool. Lots of people, so you guys all drink Starbucks. That's cool. Who wants them? Unfortunately, the front people have a little bit of an advantage, but the point with that and how this correlates into your career is don't wait to ask for permission, right? There you go, I love it. Awesome. So again, when you guys are going out trying to find engineering jobs, go through these motions, actually, let me get a quick read of the audience. How many of you have internships? Okay. How many of you want internships? All right, cool. So then you guys are gonna have a lot to learn here, right? Again, make sure you're taking notes. We're gonna go fast. There's a lot to go through. But the point here, again, do not wait to ask for permission. If there's an opportunity available, go out and go get it. There's gonna be lots of scenarios here, lots of different things I'm gonna run through, especially with my experience and my journey. And I promise you guys, I'm not perfect. If anything, I've failed a lot more than most of you, maybe. So you guys are gonna see some cool stuff, but let's go on and go to the next slide. Goals and dreams. So this is gonna be really important to me, you know, as you're going through your engineering career. This is really getting the first position, internship. That's really step one out of like 10,000, right? Because if we put it into perspective, when we graduate, we have so much more life to live, right? And what are we doing with that life? What are we kind of shaping up for, right? You know, for me, I definitely had some imposter syndrome trying to figure this stuff out. Where am I gonna go? What job am I gonna get? What internship am I gonna get? And then, you know, for what? What do I want out of life? What does my life look like in 5 to 10 years, 20 years, right? So I want to make sure you guys are thinking about that. One of my mentors had told me, and I suggest everybody to do this, it's kind of like a brain dump exercise. Whatever your goals are, whatever they are, write them in a big list, 20, 50, 100 goals, whatever they are, right? And then categorize them. A, B, and C. A for 6 months to 1 year, and then B for 1 year to 5 years, and then 5 to 10 years. That way you have something that you're kind of targeting and put it in perspective, and that way you know what you're aiming for, right? If you haven't done that, please do that. But on top of this, I want to do another little exercise really quick. Again, we have a lot to go through, but I have my buddy Kevin back there. He's gonna go on ahead and pass around a microphone. I wanna call on 2 people that wanna call out their dreams and goals. If you've been waiting for the moment to call out, you know, a dream or a big audacious goal you have, right? There might be people in this room that also share that and you can do something with them. But the biggest thing is when you speak it into existence, it becomes something, right? So I wanna call on 2 people. I want you to start with your name, take 10, 15 seconds, explain your goal. So I don't know if anyone has a big goal, they just wanna name out, raise your hand. What we got? No goals? One right there, Kevin. They got a little microphone, go ahead. Start with your name.
Hello. Okay, hi. My name is Isabella, and when I was 10, my parents took me to the Kennedy Space Center for the first time, just on like a random trip. And ever since then, I knew that the only thing that I wanted to do with my life was to build a rocket. So I really want to go into the aerospace industry, even though I'm a mechanical engineer, and I want to be a part of one of the next big rockets, maybe one that goes to Mars.
Awesome, I love that you were running for One more. Anybody have big goals, big dreams, they want to call it out, spell it out, please do it. One. All right, we'll do 2 more. Right there and then right here. Go.
Hi, my name is Francis, and I'm actually a finance major, but I wanted to make the switch to mechanical engineering because I honestly want to work a job that
100%. Give her a round of applause. Right here. Give me the baby, not 9 months delivery. Go ahead.
Hello, my name's Logan. My big goal would probably be to be like the first person to plant something on another planet. I want to really like colonize Mars. That's my whole goal. That's like my whole idea.
Awesome, man. One more round of applause, everybody. It takes a lot to go out and share your goal like that and do that, but if anyone else shares those goals with them, go out, talk to them, connect. You guys are all part of the same club, right? You guys can make something happen, maybe start on a project, depending on the year you're on, do the senior design project based off of that. There's so many things you can do. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide here, which I want to kind of break some beliefs here. I'll talk more about FormAWin and what we do, but the main thing we focus on is interpersonal development. I firmly believe you're going to learn all the technical stuff more so on the job as opposed to before, depending if you're going for like a super specific role that might be a little bit different, but generally it's going to be more based off of how you sell yourself, different things like that. But the big belief here to kind of just shatter everybody's mind a little bit. So maybe we'll take one guess, maybe just think about it to yourselves, talk about your neighbor, but one of the engineers that I've worked with did not have an engineering degree. I want you to just take a wild guess at what that is. So just take a moment, think to yourselves, have fun with it. All right, it was music. A music degree. Not music engineering, not technical music, not, I don't know, but just music. Now, to their credit, they were one of the best engineers I've worked with. Super detail-oriented, super smart, awesome, right? But the point with that is, again, guys, like this is, you guys are all studying engineering, you guys are all working hard towards your goals, be present in everything that you do. Like here today, again, take one thing out of today and apply it. Be present where you are, but for them, they just make stuff happen, right? And that's the biggest thing that you guys can go out and do. Make the stuff happen, don't be shy, don't be scared, get more reps, get more practice, and go accomplish it. So that's all. All right, so me FormAWin, I'm gonna touch on this really quickly. The whole vision behind this is I always wanted a service like this. I always wanted something where I could really go to someone 24/7 for support and really just develop a little bit of a different network. So you guys can feel free to scan through that, but the whole point with this is that I've gone through so many mentors and different experiences. I'm not gonna touch on that during this presentation because I'd be here for probably like 6 hours, and even with this, I can probably babble for 2. But with that said, right, I always wanted somewhere I could just go to someone like, hey, okay, I just did this, what do I do? Okay, I just did this, what do I do? If you guys did that with your mentors, you're probably gonna not have a mentor anymore, right? Because they're all gonna get annoyed if you spam them 24/7. But the whole point here as well is, going throughout all my experiences, which we're gonna share and have lots of fun with, so just wait. But I've been involved with some hiring and recruiting and doing interviews. At my Siemens Energy position, I was actually doing some one-on-one interviews and kind of managing the whole process. So it was super fun, super entertaining, super rewarding. Let's go ahead and go to the next. All right, let's start with my journey. So this is back in middle school and high school, and just to be clear, me and my buddy Kevin right here, we've done everything together. Middle school, high school, college, so awesome, great friendship. I really appreciate him here. But in middle school, I first was born in New Jersey, moved to Key West, lived on a boat, it was super cool, but then decided to come up here. I went to Building Middle School, that was awesome. That's where I really got introduced to engineering, right? Because they were in engineering magnet middle school. And then the main thing here, my first engineering project, the water bottle rocket, that was in high school, super fun. And on there, the little logo, it says Spiffy Industries, that was my nickname, it was cool, it was fun. And then here I went to an Embry-Riddle kind of summer camp, and I flew a plane until the actual pilot took over because we were about to crash, but that's okay. I had lots of fun there. I played football. I had another internship at Atkins. That was another company in high school. It was like a 4-week internship. It wasn't anything too crazy, but still got some awesome experience. I was president or co-president of Blue Alpha Theta. Kind of felt like I was the main president. But on top of that, in high school, we also did a senior design project. So for ours, it was a programmable phone case. Super fun. Had a great time in high school. So on to the next one. So now we get into college, all right? So I started my college journey in AIAA. I joined the hovercraft project. We're gonna look at the top left. I started AIAA, I started a hovercraft project, and then that was my fall semester, and then we went over into spring, I became the hovercraft lead, and then in the summer, I became the vice president. So up there, that was a private Kennedy Space Center tour, so guys, make sure you go on the tour, especially the Blue Origin. Great experience, great networking, but carrying on, that led to my first CUF position here, so I worked with the F-35 yachts at Lockheed Martin. It was a great experience. I did manufacturing engineering. I wasn't too in love with it, but it was pretty cool. I mean, especially when you first get in there, it's like, wow, all this stuff's going on. It's crazy. And you all are gonna have that same experience, so I'm super excited for you guys to have that experience. Moving on, I was part of Leading Scholars, so I was managing a team here at one of their summer camps. It was also awesome. I love leading, I love doing all that stuff. And pay attention to this red X. We'll talk about that on the next slide. You guys might have a few guesses, but stay tuned. Then I worked at UFIT, the gym, great experience. If you guys are looking for part-time work, or you guys are just trying to find something else to do on top of what you have, if you have time, highly recommend getting into a sales position, wherever that is, whatever that means for you. You're gonna learn so many skills to transfer directly into engineering. Because selling, sales, you do that on a day-to-day basis. When you go talk to someone outside, run into someone, you're always selling yourself, right? So if you become a better salesperson, by default, you're gonna become a better leader and a better engineer, because you need to communicate with people, right? So that's one of the biggest skills you guys need to develop. But I did a NASA L Space Academy, super cool, super fun. I did proposal writing and evaluation experience. This is a free program, you guys can probably check that out, great resume booster, but also a great learning opportunity. It's really gonna help you guys out if you're looking for something. All right, the big X. Let's go to the next slide. COVID. Oh no. So they laid off a bunch of C-Webs. However, I received a call that said, hey, we're letting you go due to performance. It happened to be in the same week, give or take. So maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But honestly, I wasn't really keeping up to the standard I set out to myself. It was a great learning opportunity, right? So as I'm pooping my pants, let's go to the next slide. So now, okay, what do? Do I go get a master's degree because that'll buy me some more time? Maybe I'll have some more experience, maybe that'll put me back up on the totem pole. I'm not sure, maybe I'll go with the research. That'll be fun, maybe that'll be a good resume booster, that'll get me back into the company or something like that, right? Or do I just, with this two-way street, do I just give up on engineering altogether and then go stay at UFIT for the rest of my life? Not that I didn't want to do that. And a little fun tidbit trick here with Donna here. So they're a biomedical company, and I was gonna go work there. You guys can find all unique experiences and ways to find positions. The way that I was looking at this is I went to a staffing service because I was also trying to support myself, make ends meet. And I went to a staffing service just looking for some engineering ways and positions, and there was an assembler position, a tech assembler. So my game plan was to work that, and then stay there, and then lead by example, do great things, and then I was going to transfer it into engineering once I got there. So that was going to be the game plan. But wait. So after all this, I decided to go for a workout. I went in the gym, I was bench pressing. It was super cool. And then I got a phone call, and then someone managed to take a live picture of me as this was all happening. I don't know how they did it. Go to the next slide. So this was me in the gym as I was receiving my phone call. So anyways, I was bench pressing, right? And I got the call, and then I was like, okay, gosh, it's a 407 number. Should I take it? I wasn't actually bench pressing, but I was in the gym. I saw this call. I was like, I don't know who it is. Let me take it. Ring, 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 ring. Hey, how's it going? It's Mike. Hey, is this Michael? Yeah. Who's this? Oh, this is X, Y, and Z with Lockheed Martin. I dropped everything. I muted the phone. I ran out of the gym. Mike, are you still there? Yeah, I'm here. As I sprinted out of the gym. So, long story short, go to the next slide. Next steps. That led me to another C-Web position. Super cool. I got back in there. I aced the interview. I did really good. So we're back in. And the next slide is going to go over a resume that was used to get me hired. So I kind of want to break another little myth or whatever you guys want to call it. How many of you guys have a standard one-page resume? Raise your hand. Standard one. Okay, cool. So this is the resume that got me hired. Go to the next slide. So my beliefs are a little bit different. You know what I mean? So everything I've been through has kind of led me to start FormAWin and do all this stuff. I have my picture, I have my favorite quote on there. This wasn't the exact resume, but it was basically like this. I couldn't find it. But it was 3 pages. I had some other stuff on there. Because this is me. I just want to talk about myself and do what I want to do. And that's the biggest thing that I can advise to you guys. Don't conform to you. If you feel something in your heart, go directly towards it and sell yourself that certain way, right? All right, let's go to the next slide. Fun stuff now. All right, so we're back in EPG. I was working for the engineering process group, which is a research engineering position. So this was super cool, managing different processes and standards within the company. It was a work from home position. That's not my actual work from home position. That's what I thought was cool, so added in there. So that was a great experience. I loved it. I learned so much there. And then our senior design project was a drone. Didn't really work out too well. Me and my buddy Kevin did it with a group of 8, but we were maybe 2 that were doing it. So make sure you guys have a good group. But Siemens Energy. So as a C-Web, you're a contractor with UCF, right? So I was a contractor with UCF. And during this time, I was working at restaurants on top of this again, just trying to make stuff work. And I hurt my back, so I was like looking for a different position. I went on Indeed, and I saw Siemens Energy, something, business, something. I was like, okay, I'll apply to it. After I applied to a bunch of other stuff. And, they called me back. I was like, okay, cool, I'll go in. And the company that hired me in Siemens Energy was a staffing service. So I was a contractor for Siemens Energy and a contractor for UCF. Super important for later. Take your guesses at what that's gonna be. But it was an awesome company, awesome thing that I worked on. It was just me and my manager. It was basically like a startup initiative. It was called Bidbrella, connecting different manufacturers to the services that they need, whether it was cleaning a turbine, maintenance, etc. So we were working with suppliers. It was super cool. I had so much responsibility. It was awesome. All right, next slide. Then I graduated. It was a happy story. We're all good. Yeah, me and Kevin. Woo! Next slide. Wait, next slide. Full-time offer, what happened? Wait, I'm working at 2 companies. What are we doing? Did I get a full-time offer? What happened? All right. So then I decided to go back into the gym. Next slide. Ring, ring, ring. I got another call. No. So I wasn't at the gym, but I had to put it there. But I did get another call. This time it was my manager at Lockheed. Hey, Michael, I saw you were applying to some jobs. One of the managers actually reached out to me, and they had a question. I was like, yeah, what's up? How are you working at Siemens Energy and Lockheed Martin? Well, yeah, I am. What about it? Long story short, you have to submit it through Lockheed, make sure it was good. It wound up not being a problem at all. Again, I cleared it with UCF as well as the staffing service, so I was good. But typically, if you guys, maybe work a bit more than average, you're gonna get put in a box, and people are gonna be like, well, you can't really work that much. You're gonna stretch yourself out, or you're gonna, not do as good in a job. And I didn't want that to be put on me, because I like working hard, and I don't want anyone to tell me how hard to work and not work, right? But this led to some awesome stuff. So that phone call, right? I'll remember this for the rest of my life. I had this phone call, and then, clear? Cool. So that phone call was great, right? I'll remember that for the rest of my life. The next day, Lockheed Martin sent me an offer. The next day. So obviously I had to make a decision, right? Not only did they send me an offer for a full-time role, which was great, it was super healthy, they also offered me an internship for the remainder of the year. So I worked as an intern and then transitioned right into full-time. So you might be told at this next career fair, make sure you guys go and maximize every second, show up early, do all that. But you guys might be told that, oh, well, we're not hiring this season, oh, we're not, we have to talk with the 27 HR managers, this is what we got going on, right? And maybe that's true, maybe it's not true, but at the end of the day, these companies are businesses, right? If you're valuable and add value to that company, they're gonna get you, right? So we need to think about it from that perspective. Let's go to the next slide. Talk about some more fun stuff. So, I can't exactly say what I do specifically, but we're going to use an example, making a house. So, at the moment, currently working there. I'm a requirements engineer, so systems engineering. We'll talk a little more about systems engineering on the next slide. But in systems engineering, right, as requirements, just imagine you have a house. Okay, you got the first floor, second floor, third floor, right? On the first floor, you got the bathroom, the kitchen. So basically, I'm managing the first floor of the house, working with the people, building the first floor, designing the first floor, testing the first floor, making sure that we're checking off all the requirements. There's easily thousands of requirements in that first floor. How long can the door last? How long can water go through the pipes? This, right? So there's easily 1,000 requirements. So that's what I started off with, and then I became Scrum Master. So basically, imagine there's a person that owns the house in terms of like being the product owner for the house, and then they make sure everybody's doing their stuff, but then Scrum Master is helping that owner make sure that everybody's staying accountable, doing all their tasks, and working hard towards it, right? So that's basically what I became. Super cool. Got a whole lot of people accountable. Loved it. Still doing it. And then as of this year, I became a lead FRB investigator, which has been the most fun ever. The biggest thing I like about systems engineering is kind of the depth of it, because I'm not a super technical, focused person that just wants to sit there and do something hands-on with my stuff, right? And as a lead FRB investigator, I get to kind of touch all areas. I'm talking with the technical chair. I'm talking with a bunch of other people that are doing different parts of it, and we're just trying to solve this problem. Just imagine a pipe broke, right, in the house. Okay, well, why did it break? Okay, well, let's retest it. Let's test it this way. Let's try it this way. Okay, let's go out to who made the pipe. Okay, let's go back here. Let's try it again. Okay, let's brainstorm some other things, documenting all this, make sure everybody's working together. Love it, love it, love it, love it. And then that also led me to do some test engineering, because I was able to go out and test the pipe as well. So I kind of have a good breadth of everything. So super fun. And kind of during this journey, this is when FormAWin started as well. Originally, we were going to call it KM Solutions, and the idea birthed from doing some mentoring. I've always mentored people. I've always loved doing it. And again, I kind of wanted to just do it my own way and not really be told how to do it. So that's really what started this. And I thought, well, I can really go out and help a lot of people think a little bit differently. So that's how it started. Anyways, KM Solutions, that wasn't too catchy. So then I came up with FormAWin, and I love blue, so really started out like that. It's great. This was one of our team members here with one of our top clients and our coaches, me and Kevin. So then that was great. Then we also went to an air show we were able to sponsor, took some other clients out there as well. We have a school community, and we have lots of big things planned. It's so great to be able to help people. It's honestly very, very fulfilling, especially with you guys. If you guys have any issues or anything, I'm able to solve that or help out in any single way. I mean, it's just great to see that transformation. So let's go on to the next slide. So this is the systems engineering lead, right? So I was talking about that. This is basically as technical as we're going to get, more so for time, but also it's not too complicated, right? So you're going to start off with designing things on the left side of the lead. That's kind of where we started, right? Requirements, designing specifications, doing all that stuff. And then we're going to work our way over to the right side of the lead once we're starting to say, okay, the house is built. Okay, it's ready to go. Let's make sure it's built. Let's make sure the person that's buying the house is happy with the house, right? That's one of the other biggest things, right? We need to make sure everybody's happy. And sometimes we go back and forth because, sometimes the buyer of the house is like, well, I don't really like the door anymore. And we're like, all right, well, that's what you told us. So what do you want us to do? Well, redesign it. Otherwise, we're not paying for the house. All right, sounds like a plan, I mean, you can only do so much with that. So that's the systems engineering in a nutshell a little bit. You guys can definitely do a little more research, ask me some questions. But let's talk a little bit more about FormAWin, right? So I want you guys to treat your career like a business. And I just want you guys to kind of wrap your head around this. You guys are still with me? You're still with me? Raise your hand. Good, you guys getting value out of this? Yes? Yes. Awesome, good. So treat your career like a business. What I mean by this is maybe just set up some KPIs. For example, let's just say that you send out 100 applications and you get 3 interviews back, right? Okay, that's the metric. We know that now. Okay, well, the next question is, well, how many interviews does it take to get a full-time offer? Well, based on my experience, kind of what I know, it's probably going to take 9 interviews to get a full-time offer. Okay, well, we just solved the whole equation, right? And the biggest thing here, at some point, quantity is going to be quality. For example, again, we just talked about 100 applications, so that means we need to submit 300, right? We're tracking. So if we submit 300, we're good. And then maybe we want to do 600, we get 2 offers. But again, at some point, quantity is going to be quality. Someone quality focused might say, well, if it takes me 100 to get 3 interviews, well, maybe if I improve my resume, I do all this stuff, get some more skills, maybe I can drop that down to 50, right? So 50 applications, I can get 3 interviews. My question would be, well, number one, let's go back to that breakdown of goals and everything we want to accomplish, right? Well, where does this line up? How long does it take us to develop the skills, improve the resume, to go from 100 applications to 50 applications? Is it 2 years? Is it a month? If it's a month, do it, right? But if it's 2 years, that person that's not focusing on quality and they're more focused on quantity, submitting applications, you just get a lot more, and they're going to be able to get an internship or a full-time offer faster than the person only focusing on quality, right? I made a video kind of going through, let's say you have 2 students, one went to Harvard, they were president of 47 clubs, they did 12 internships, 4.0, right? Awesome stuff, cool. They graduated, they got a full-time offer, right? Awesome. Then you take another student, maybe they went to a different college, whatever, right? They didn't do any clubs, they didn't do anything, but when they graduate, they get a full-time offer. Well, who won? Who won? I mean, arguably, maybe the Harvard student did a little bit better, maybe they had some more connections, but at the same time, the end goal here is still get an internship or a full-time job, right? So no matter how you do it and how you go about it, my biggest thing is compressing the time frame and making sure we're accomplishing things so that way we can work on at step 2 out of 10,000, right? So I want to make sure you guys are doing that. The basics here: cover letter, resume, interview. For resume, I really need to make a t-shirt with this. Haven't done it yet. I've said it for like 6 months, but resumes are like degrees. You need them to get a job, but they're not going to guarantee you to get a job. Resumes should be living documents. They're not something that you need to go crazy on and spend every week going through it. Oh, okay, this interview, or I didn't do this and that. Okay, I need to go back and review my resume, right? I want you guys to focus on the stuff that's going to actually get you there, like networking. We're going to talk about that on the next slide. But that's the biggest thing for resumes. Cover letters, I love cover letters for you to get some personal side of your life into it. Because at the other end of this stuff, maybe AI is gonna take over, but still, someone's gonna read this. Someone's gonna read this and wanna connect with you. They're humans, you're humans, and again, that goes back to the sales, right? I mean, AI is great, it's gonna take over, but it's not gonna replace, this. We're humans, we're talking with each other, we're trying to connect with each other, and it's not gonna replace that, unless we all become robots, and then that's a separate competition. But cover letter, I love talking about family. A lot of people have family, whatever that looks like for you. That might be an easy thing for you to just check mark, make sure you relate to someone. For interviews, I don't believe in preparing for interviews, because I'm not trying to prepare to be someone that I'm not. If it's a super technical interview and they're saying, okay, you're gonna come in, you're gonna design a rocket, and you're gonna do this, maybe you can prepare for that, right? Because you know exactly what you're expecting. But generally, what are we trying to prepare to do? What have we done for the last 6 months, year, our time in college? Like, what are we doing, right? Just be yourself. If you need to improve yourself, that's another conversation, right? You do that, and you go to the interview, you base it. So the key here, right? LinkedIn is super big. So all these events, all these awesome events ASME is hosting, again, you guys are great. You guys should be posting this on LinkedIn. I'm sure you guys all have Instagram, right? Right there, Instagram? Yep. I'm sure you guys have seen people talk about personal branding and stuff like that, right? So why don't engineers talk about that as much? I mean, that's gonna be the next wave of the future, right? Especially on LinkedIn, connecting with people, trying to figure out how to navigate this. I mean, if they're not helping you now, maybe you can help them later, or they can help you later, right? That's the power of networking and branding and making all this stuff public, right? Posting your projects, doing all this stuff. It's super important. So make sure you guys go out and do that. Networking as well. One of my mentors told me that networking is kind of like relationships where you need to have it based on value exchange, because that's kind of what a relationship is, right? You can help me or whatever, right? And like, we're both happy. So, as an engineer, or these recruiters you're going to, they kind of have everything to give you, right? They got the full-time job, they got everything you want, and as a student, it's kind of like, well, I don't have too much to give, but I'm nice, my resume's good, you know what I mean? And with that said, there's a lot more that you guys can provide to them. There's so much, so if you guys were thinking that, get out of that mindset. I'm gonna give you an example of this, not engineering related, but back when I was kind of looking for a restaurant job, right? I was going around, I went to Hillstone. Do you guys know Hillstone? Well, it's a super cool, fancy restaurant. Their application process it's kind of like a group interview, so they're like, okay, come from 12 to 1, and then everybody's gonna line up, fill out a paper application, and go wait outside. So I did that, I waited outside, I saw everybody else finish, okay, wait outside, they went on their phones, I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna sit here and just be on my phone. So I went and I opened the door for every single person that came in. One of them happened to be the person interviewing me. So you can only imagine how that went, right? So that's the point with networking, right? You have a lot of value to exchange. You just have to be creative. And also exchanging energy, making people smile, be happy, do all that stuff. I mean, like, that's gonna help you guys out so much in all these day-to-day interactions. And that's why I'm talking about sales as well. It's super important. You guys need to make sure that's a priority. Events, going in with a game plan, you should run your events, go to events like you're hosting a meeting. Okay, we're hosting this meeting. This meeting is for X, Y, and Z. By the end of the meeting, we need to have X, Y, and Z resolved or whatever it is, right? So you guys should go with that same framework. Okay, I'm here to talk to these 5 companies and I need contact by the end of the day. Get a contact, figure it out. So, talk about coaching. I love coaching because it's about compressing time frames. How many of you have had a coach before, like maybe in sports or something? Whatever, right? And then I'm sure the coaches have helped you out, right? So that's a great beneficial experience, and especially with coaching, like why don't we do that in all areas of our life? Like I'm sure you guys might have heard of financial coaches and stuff like that. Like all this stuff is super important, right? Because they help you compress the time frame and learn from the past mistakes. That way we don't repeat history, and we're able to grow, develop, do it quicker, and make sure that that brain dump of goals that we talked about in the beginning, make sure that happens a little bit quicker. That way we can go out, live our dreams, be happier, we can go to Mars, we can do all this stuff, right? So that's the importance of coaching. Next is lead by example. I talked about being involved in Lead Scholars. It's a great program. There's like 20 different types of leadership. How many of you guys are in Lead Scholars? You guys? No, that's okay. But there's like 20 different types of leadership, right? And I think it's cool to study, and I enjoyed it. But I'm like, not enough people lead by example. So if they just did that, they're going to be a better leader than 99% of the people. So that's a big takeaway for you guys. Just figure out what you're not doing and do it. For example, I saw trash on the ground out there, right? I always try to pick up trash. I'm sure you guys might have heard of like the shopping cart example. Someone just leaving the shopping cart out. Go put that back. All this stuff matters. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So lead by example, that's a big key takeaway here. So we're wrapping up here, almost done. These are just some testimonials. These are all on our social media. I'm not gonna spend too much time here, but again, I love seeing this stuff because to take you from where you are to where you want to be and compress that time frame. Like it's just so great. And I just want someone to do that for me. And I've had lots of great mentors, and I was able to do that through massive quantity. But these are some companies that some of our students have gotten hired at. Again, super honored to be able to do that. And I got a final message for you guys as well. And thank you, some leadership for having me here. But the final message is just repeating. What's the one thing you guys are going to do differently coming out of this meeting? If you don't do anything differently coming out of this meeting, you're just showing up, having fun, and not growing and not learning, right? And the point is to be present in everywhere you're at and take one thing away. Every time I'm working at Lockheed or going through and seeing different events, like maybe there's a big meeting with some presidents or whatever it is, right? And it's like a big giant meeting, and like I'm not presenting there yet. But I'm always listening. I'm always taking notes. Okay, how are they communicating? How are they presenting themselves? What are they saying? Right? Make the most of every situation. Whatever you're doing, take one thing away. And somebody always tells my clients, if you take one thing away from reading an entire book, and that one thing changes your life forever, I mean, how much is that worth, right? How much is that worth? To me, it's priceless. And I think we should be able to do that on a day-to-day basis. I'm gonna end with one more thing here. This is my car. I have a vision board in my car, right? I'm not saying you guys need to do that, but I have a vision board at work, at home, in my car, and that's just because I care, right? And I just wanted to make sure I include that just to kind of show you guys, like, just take it to another level maybe. How many of you have a vision board? That's your homework. Go make a vision board. Listen, guys, it's been an honor. Thank you guys so much. I really hope you learned something. Feel free to come up afterwards and anytime you guys think you can do that. I'll help you out with whatever you need. If you guys want to send me an email with your resume, I'd be happy to review it. I do this stuff free because that's just super easy, and I just want to make sure you guys are not stressed about that. You guys are doing something that actually matters. So feel free to scan the QR code, connect with us on social media. Again, thank you guys so much. You guys are doing such a great thing here. Hope you guys learned something. Thank you.
Questions for Michael before we end and go for pizza and t-shirts and stuff. So, and we could use the box over there for questions too, which would be great. So we'll take 3 questions to ask Michael.
Earlier, but I wanted to ask, how can I be successful with my background in finance and the engineering industry?
Yeah, so with that said, right, the biggest focus on FormAWin and kind of why I started this on the interpersonal side of stuff, throughout that college journey, once I started working at Lockheed and Siemens Energy at the same time, I barely went to class, right? Not that I'm advocating for that, but I kept my scholarship, I was good, so I didn't want to put extra energy to go from like a B to an A+. So all that time and energy should be spent maybe elsewhere depending on how you are, right? I got a good system for studying, I made sure I was good with B's and stuff, and I had to repeat a few classes, but that's opportunity cost. And I'm totally okay with that. I would repeat everything that I did. But to be successful with your background and major, right? Network, go out and make connections, take notes of everything, and go through all this. We're gonna post this on YouTube as well. So feel free to rewatch this. And it's just super important to make sure you're adding value everywhere you go, connect with everyone that you meet. You never know where you're gonna meet someone. For example, Kevin, hope you're okay with me sharing a story here. But he worked at Best Buy for a little bit. Super great, and honestly, if I can help with computers or cars, he's the guy, before I'm going out, trying to get a computer, I'm like, Kevin, what should I get? He's like, this one. I'm like, no. He's like, no, get this one, right? So he's great, but he was working at Best Buy for a little bit, and then we started kind of doing this stuff together, trying to go out and network, do all this stuff, grow, and then before you know it, once you start to focus on that personal development side in a different level, then opportunities are going to start coming your way, right? So for example, for him, maybe earlier on, or depending on where you're at, because we all go through life, right? I mean, how many of us have had hard times in our lives, right? And it's life. We all go through it. So during those times, maybe that's not the prime time, but as we're growing and we're resetting our bar for where we should be, we're able to kind of meet to that lowest standard, right? So as we increase that, our standard is higher no matter what that downfall is. So with that said, at Best Buy, there was a drone CEO, VP, what was it?
He was the CEO of a drone company.
So the CEO of the drone company, he came in, right, and he was like, hey, I need this wire. And Kevin was like, well, what you need that for? He was like, well, you want to understand. He's like, well, actually, I do some projects on drones, studying engineering, so try me. Tried it, got an internship out of that. So the point of that guys to go out, all these events, every single one of these ASB events, go to, network, connect, and never stop. Because you never know when one of these things are gonna take effect, and that's the effect of compound interest. All these things that you're doing, fixing your resume, going out, networking, coming to these general body meetings, these are all compound interest. But again, if you don't take the one thing out of today and go change and do something differently, then it's all for nothing. So that's my advice.